G'day there guys, half a beard and ready to get weird here. Back at it again with another episode of r/Am I the A-hole? Now if you love this content, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, and get ready for some bloody good questions. Posted by user throwaway235222. Titled, Am I the A-hole for asking what my friend sees in his wife? So, although I stand strong in my beliefs, my friends told me that what I did was not okay, and I think now I feel conflicted, so I'm making this post. I don't think I'm wrong though, and you'll see why. My friend is very good looking. He met his wife before he met me, around 7 odd years ago through school or something, and she's a mess. I mean, she's not the ugliest, but she's really tiny and kind of pudgy. She has an acne problem, which I don't understand since she's 27. She also has a double chin when she speaks, which isn't the worst, I guess, but compared to my friend, who is so good looking, she's basically like a 2. The only thing I can give her is that she's kind of funny, and she's kind of book smart and has an okay job, I guess. But that's it. I've tried my hardest to hint to my friend that he's young. He's only 25. He can find someone else. Even I'm open to dating him, like, he's gorgeous. But he's never caught any hints. It's like he's under a spell. His wife is pregnant at the moment, which is frustrating because I haven't seen him in a while, because of the virus. And we used to call at least semi-regularly, but now he can't because she makes him wait on her hand and foot, and he's lovesick for some reason. Finally, got to video call him the other day after weeks, and he looked tired but happy and gorgeous as ever. She came to say hi, and she's really let herself go. I couldn't even look at her straight without grimacing. She was a mess. When she left the room, all he talked about was her and baby this and baby that, and she this and she that, and she's glowing and crap. It's like we see 2 different people. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore and asked exactly what he sees in her. He was like, "What do you mean?" So I gave him examples that I put above. Instead of talking to me like an adult, he went really silent, and when I was like, "What? What is it?" he was like, "Do you mean that?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "I'm way too tired for this." What? And then he suddenly hung up on me, and before I even had space to breathe, he blocked me everywhere. I really do not understand what I said wrong. I really do want to know what he sees in her. They don't have the same interests. My friends are, since then, hounding me about how I could say that, and everyone I talk to seems to be getting mad at me. I don't think I am, but am I the a-hole? I really don't want to lose him over something to do with her, so should I just apologize? Maybe, I think you might be the a-hole on this one, OP. I don't know, you might want to read over that again and see just exactly what you said to someone that's obviously in love with their pregnant wife or partner, and they're doing really well with them. And it's a really tragic time right now for a lot of people. I don't know, OP, maybe. You might be the a-hole. Let's see what comments have to say. I'd be open to dating him. He's never caught any hints. You're the a-hole and you need to get over yourself. I couldn't get past I'd be open to dating him. Someone get this woman a drink of water because she is thirsty. The friend's wife is smart and funny. OP is a dick and dumb. Who do you think he'd pick? In his eyes, his wife is probably the most beautiful woman in the world, and that's all that matters. Also, acne isn't a huge deal, but a crap personality is. Right? OP is a woman made ugly by her personality. You're the a-hole. I'm not even convinced this man's wife is as unattractive as she is implying. She's just a hater. I bet the wife is more attractive than OP, and smarter and funnier. She's heavily pregnant, and all OP says is that she is a little pudgy. I retained so much water while pregnant, I looked like the Michelin Tires Man or Pillsbury Doughboy. Yeah, the swelling all went away within a month of having the baby, but saying a pregnant woman doesn't look like a runway model doesn't mean she's unattractive when not pregnant. You're the a-hole. You may think his wife is a 2 in the looks department, but you're a negative 27 in the personality department. If I was this man, I would never forgive you, and I hope your mutual friends follow suit. Can we take a second to realize that this girl met him after he met his wife, and still has the nerve to meddle in their relationship, and wants him to leave her over the most superficial thing? Yeah, I'd also add that I'm 27 and still have acne. That's not weird. What's weird is that you think a man would want to leave his pregnant wife because you don't think she's pretty? Look, I'm turning 36 this year and still have the occasional acne flare-up. Hormones are whack, and not everyone wins the good skin lottery. Posted by user Am I Wrong AITA, titled, Am I the a-hole for punishing my sons and not the woman? I'm going to keep this short since frankly, I'm exhausted. Any questions can and will be answered in the comments. Long story short, my family, 35 male, 12 male, 10 male, and I, 32 female, just recently moved into a new apartment complex. Our unit is at the very back of the building, at the back of the property, so behind us is just a wooded area. Nobody lives there. At the very back of our unit, and the one across from ours, is a small balcony that faces out towards this wooded area. Because of the way the building is constructed, you can't see onto another person's balcony unless you go to the stairs and lean over the railing, otherwise the wall blocks you. Across from our unit is a family of 4, a young-looking mother, her husband, and their 2 children who are both under the age of 2. I haven't had the chance to go introduce myself because I think one of their babies is a newborn, and honestly, Mama seems exhausted. Anyway, a couple of nights ago, I made a horrific discovery. Went outside to call the boys in for dinner, and found them both with their upper bodies flung over the railing, staring into our neighbor's balcony. I grabbed both of them by their pants and asked them just what they think they're doing. And that's when I see it. From their vantage point, they could see straight into the neighbor lady's balcony, where she was sat completely topless with underwear on, listening to headphones. I was livid. Not with her, but with the boys. The way I see it, she's on her own personal property, where no one is supposed to be able to see, and not drawing any attention to herself. Plus, if she's breastfeeding, I get not having a top or bra on. It's tedious to remove every few hours and for every feeding in between. And who wears pants in their own house? Anyway, I digress. I pulled the boys in the house and took away their video games and phones until further notice, and told my husband immediately when he got home. But surprisingly, he was mad at me, saying boys would be boys and the lady should have some decency to wear clothes outside, and asked me to speak to her about it. I ripped him a new one and spent the night on the couch, after which he apologized, but the boys still seem upset with me. Am I the a-hole for punishing them, but not saying anything to the neighbor? Absolutely not the a-hole in this situation. You are being led to believe that your actions are wrong in this situation by your partner and his 2 sons. This is just parenting 101, that it's wildly inappropriate to go looking into private property like that, especially being a peeping Tom like you are, you little pervs. Come on, man. I don't get why the father is being such a tight ass about it either. He needs a reality check. Just gonna say it now. Not the a-hole. Good for you. Your husband is out of line and frankly acting in a manner that could give your sons the idea that it's okay to just get from women without respect for personal boundaries, whether it's looking or worse. A+ parenting from you, and thank you for respecting your neighbor. Agreed, it's very disrespectful to the woman, and I totally get her just wanting to relax and not feel like she's being watched. Plus, if the boys were flung over the rail, it sounds like it would have been pretty hard to see her normally, and they had to strain to get a glimpse. Big, not the a-hole. Yep, the balconies have privacy barriers that they are going out of their way to circumvent. They are acting like pervs, and are an extreme violation of her privacy. This is an extremely important point here. If they could just glance out of their window and easily see her, I might say something gently and non-judgmentally to the neighbor like, just so you know, my boy's bedroom looks into your living room. But as it stands, the neighbor had an expectation of privacy that these boys invaded. When talking to the boys, I would focus on that expectation of privacy as well. It is completely normal for boys to want to see boobs. The important lesson here is not that the desire is wrong, it's that we should all be able to be naked in our own homes without other people looking. Every time my preacher happens to preach on David and Bathsheba, he says he thinks David had to purposefully angle himself on that roof in order to look at Bathsheba, not that Bathsheba was out in the open and easy to see. The more you know, I guess. Not the a-hole. Boys will be boys. I'm sorry, what century is your husband living in? Like you said, that woman was on her own property. Not only are you not the a-hole for doing some good parenting, you're also not the a-hole because you didn't sexualize this woman. Your husband, on the other hand, could afford to learn a bit. Depending on what state OP is in, assuming she's in the US, her sons may have been breaking the law. In many states, peeping Tom statutes boil down to being met if one person is actively watching or photographing another person who is fully or partially naked without their knowledge. But would that still apply to minors? In a lot of places, many laws are different for minors. They might not actually be able to be charged, but it's still a good argument for punishing them, and it would be a good argument to convince the husband that it's the boy's fault, not the woman's. Not the a-hole. I would have reacted the same way. I would also have a long talk to my son about privacy and gender equality, and engorgement hurts, especially at the tail end of breastfeeding. Ugh, you're preaching to the choir there. Even wearing bras hurt from the friction of them rubbing against my nipples. It's been over 10 years, and the sensation is still a very vivid screw that crap. Maybe tell your neighbor OP, not because she is being indecent, but because she needs to know. People are looking at her. She probably does not know they can see her. I'm not saying it to be mean to the neighbor, I'm saying it so that she can react accordingly. I know that if people were creeping at me, I would want to know. This situation reminds me of the post of that girl that was named in her home having alone time, and kids were looking at her. When she shooed them off, a mum came out and screamed at the girl for being indecent. Even broke a window, I think. The cops were called because the mum was crazy. Thank you for not reacting this way and realizing the boys are in the wrong. Oh, I agree. I'd say hi to the neighbor, tell her I caught my kids peeping, and that they're grounded so that if they ever do it again, to let me know, because I'm trying to raise children who respect others. Hell, I'd even ask if she would accept an apology from them, because that crap has to be embarrassing enough to remind them that they violated a person. OP, you're awesome. Make your husband sleep on that couch next time he says some sexist crap. A lot of people are saying, no, don't do that, don't go and tell them. I would be of the mind to not go tell them myself. I feel like that's probably a bad idea. Good to just punish the sons and make them not do it again. Posted by user 5267. Titled, Would I be the a-hole if I made a donation in the name of an acquaintance who does not support the cause? So I'm 28 male and am getting married this year to another man, 27 male. Most of our guests have been very supportive, but we received a letter from one couple telling us that they do not support us and won't be able to attend our event. They also stated that they hope we find the truth. While I'm disappointed, this also means that we'll save a little money on the wedding, on food, alcohol, etc. I think it's obvious that they're the a-hole for sending this letter, but I wonder, would I be the a-hole for taking the following action? I would like to donate the money I will save to an LGBTQ organization in their name. I'm hoping that I or the organization will be able to send them a receipt and thank you for the donation. Would I be the a-hole? Throwaway, as there are giveaways to my identity on my main account. I think, unfortunately, if you do that, that's a malicious act, and it's not in good faith. So OP, as, self-righteous as an act that is, I don't think it's a wise move, and I think you would be the a-hole if you were to do that. I would advise against it. Don't go stirring drama. They've not attacked you other than saying we want you to find the truth, which, sure, they can have their beliefs, but you can just block them. You can just remove them from your life. You don't need to personally attack them by doing this, because we don't know the repercussions, how these people will react. It's not always the best idea to do these things. You're the a-hole, but I fully support it and am also an a-hole. Every year for Christmas, I give my conservative relatives a donation in their name to whatever cause upsets them the most at the time. Planned Parenthood, gun control advocacy, etc. This year, it's looking like they'll be donating to Black Lives Matter. I think you meant to say not the a-hole. Nope, it's definitely an a-hole move. Doesn't mean it isn't funny and some people don't deserve it. Fair enough. Eskimo Bob reckons there needs to be a justified a-hole tag. Like, you're the a-hole but I like it. If we ever need a justified a-hole judgment, what you're doing is not harming anyone other than rubbing some much needed ire in an overly inflated egos of two bigots. Not the a-hole, go for it. I like it. Justifiable a-hole may be my new favorite status. You would be the a-hole. This takes trolling to a whole new level. You'd be wrong to do it, but at the same time, you would be fudging awesome if you did this. If it's okay with you, I shall borrow your idea and use it myself in the future. Sometimes being in the wrong is justifiably right. This is one such time. You're the a-hole. Don't drag the org into this, because if they call the org and demand the money back, the org isn't going to know this is a spite donation. They will have to verify that they aren't part of some scam, being used for scam purposes, forcing them to review other donations. I run an LGBT org that receives donations like these regularly. We challenge Christian fundamentalism. People run the donation on their own credit cards. They have to, otherwise the donation won't go through, and leave a dedication with contact information for the org to reach the dedicated. The only issue OP or the org would run into is if OP committed fraud with the bigoted person's credit card, but that's a whole other kettle of fish. If you want to be considerate to the org, I would say, please don't leave the bigot's phone number. It'd be a real day ruiner for the person who has to do a thank you phone call to them. Congratulations on your wedding, OP, and I'm sorry you have to experience this on what should be a jubilant occasion. We're fighting for you. Posted by user Daisy Cherry Blossoms, titled, Am I the a-hole for not telling my ex I got pregnant? I, 28 female, was with my ex-husband for about 6 years. During this time, we were trying for a baby but had no success. About 4 years into our marriage had a rough patch. My ex had stress, had work, and slept with his co-worker to relieve it. He confessed to me rather quick, and a week later they sat me down and told me they were expecting a child. I was an idiot back then, and so I felt like I should forgive him because I truly believed he loved me, and I thought I had no one. It wasn't. My ex's family treated me like their own, but my ex's supposed daughter was the apple of their eye. As a result of that, my ex's co-worker was frequent presence in our lives. They felt like they had to include the mum of their grandchild for everything too, and she made her way in every family picture in memory. It didn't help that I suspected that the co-worker had feelings for my ex and flirted with him when she can. People thought that she was my ex's wife constantly, and I finally had enough when during the baby girl's first birthday party, when I was told to take a picture of my ex, his mistress, his daughter, and his parents, and it didn't include me. It hit me that I was now treated as the other woman, and I realized that I deserved more than this bullcrap. I filed for divorce a few months later and left. It was the hardest time of my life, but I ended up getting a promotion at work and met this sweet, wonderful guy. Fast forward to now, me and my boyfriend are madly in love, and I gave birth to an adorable baby girl that I considered a miracle baby. I got pregnant with my boyfriend like 3 months after dating him, and I thought that it was strange that this could happen since my previous failed attempts with X, and had thought that I was the infertile one. It crossed my mind then that maybe he was the infertile one, and he only believed Mistress was pregnant with his child because they were having an affair. I didn't say anything though because it was not my place anymore. However, my boyfriend was so happy about my daughter's birth and posted it on Facebook and tagged me in the post. I was still friends with my ex-sister-in-law on Facebook, and she saw the post. She called me up and said that she was hurt that I didn't let her know that I could actually get pregnant, and the lack of child during my first marriage could be my ex's fault. He took a paternity test. The poor baby girl was never my ex's. The co-worker apparently was dating this terrible guy during the time she slept with my ex and didn't know who the child's father was, so she just strung my ex along because she had feelings for him and thought he'd be the best father for her child. Now my ex blames me for not telling him that I was pregnant way before, and him having to father this girl. He's doing pretty bad now, and I can't help but feel guilty, like I should have told him. Edits, I didn't realize that I could edit my post even after the 3,000 character limit. Okay, so first of all, I keep seeing that people have seen other posts like mine and some YouTube video. If so, I'm upset that others have had similar situations as me, and that some people find the situation so hilarious that they make a video out of it. I've also never posted on Reddit before. I had a previous account for browsing, not posting. I don't think I have to prove my story, and I honestly posted this to not seek validation that my ex supposedly is the worst ever, but to gain perspective, since my ex and his family were my family and close confidants for a large period of my life. We were pretty close, and I had promised to keep in touch after the divorce, which they were super upset about, but I really couldn't after everything that happened between us. They're now super ticked at me for the divorce and for being complicit in my ex taking on the expenses of his not daughter and forming a paternal connection with her for longer than he should have. Edit. So here's what's been happening right now. I haven't spoken to them after this and have been avoiding my ex's calls. He texted me saying that he's sorry and overreacted and felt guilty about prioritizing people who were never really family over me. I only replied with asking how his daughter is because even though she isn't biologically his, she's still his girl. She seems like an adorable kiddo and adores her dad. My ex's mistress is able to support the girl financially, so my ex won't contribute to that, but he says that he's still going to see her every month because he feels morally obligated to. I feel bad for the girl so much because she seems to have lost her family unit. Dad, grandparents, cousins. I'm going to go with a big fat not the a-hole in this situation. I'm going to say that's an incredibly screwed up way for that father to react to his own child. I mean, it is his own child at this point, even if not biologically. It's not OP's fault at all that she left and didn't tell him when she got pregnant. There is such a thing as having a hard time making a baby in this life. But seeing how he treated his own wife and her forgiving him, and then having the mistress such a huge part of his life, and then not in the photo, and just being a heartbreaking influence in general, I don't blame her for leaving. No, that's disgusting behavior, and he shouldn't be putting it on the OP now for what she did. No, that's so wrong. Not the a-hole. First of all, what the hell? Your ex cheats on you and blames you for him taking on fatherhood for a child that is not his. I'm not going to say it because this comment will be removed. Sorry, no rough patch justifies cheating. He should have taken up counseling. He screwed her. He cheated. He should have considered the possibility that she is fudging other guys too. The only one he can blame is the woman who forced that child onto him and himself. Don't feel bad. You don't need to be mad at your ex, but you sure as hell need to grow up and be mad at the audacity that he is trying to make you the bad one here. It's great you still get along with your ex's family, but my dude, he made his bed, cheating with his co-worker who was already in bed with another man. Now he can lie in it and take care of alimony suits and whatever his plan is. I hope he can figure out something because that child considers him her dad already. But hell, that woman stole years from him. Edit, thanks for the gold. I'm a sporadic user on Reddit. Did not expect to go through the roof like this. Like I would comment on a friend's problem they confided me. Thanks again. And I want to make things clear. Yeah, the last sentence was a bit hard to understand. I do still think it was entirely X's fault, and he got all he deserved and more. However, I also see another issue here. The fact of slipping another human being a fast one, in this case a baby, and playing on their good faith, suggesting it is their child. X was at least decent enough to take on responsibility for the child that he thought was his. He played OP and got played in turn. This is a freak fest, and the child is the only one losing here. Not the a-hole. I feel terrible for the baby, but holy crap, what a karmic tramp slap this one is. Not the a-hole. Sucks to be him. He cheated on you and got conned. You are under no obligation to give them information. Yeah, this. Don't forget, he still cheated regardless if there was a kid or not in this mess. If anything, that's probably karma. He probs wouldn't have said anything if the mistress wasn't pregnant. OP also says, a note on the infertility. I always assumed that it was me who was infertile because I had incidents in college where I didn't use protection a couple of times. Very irresponsible and highly not recommended, and nothing came out of it. At the time, I believed I was extremely lucky, but when trying to get pregnant, I thought of the incident as proof that I was the infertile one and had led my ex to believe as such. Him supposedly getting his co-worker pregnant strengthened my belief. We were actually going to a fertility clinic before we got the news about his co-worker, but that never ended up happening. Side note, thank you for all the kind words. I know a couple that had unprotected sex for up to 10 years, no baby. When they split up, both got pregnant and impregnated someone within months. Sometimes people literally have incompatible chemistry. Posted by user BoyFanon, titled, "Am I the a-hole for telling my girlfriend to stop eating baby snacks?" Weird title, and this'll sound fake, but it's 100% true. My girlfriend, 26 female, and I, 29 male, have been dating for 5 years and have been living together for 1. She's vegan and health conscious, and I am too. But here's where the problem lies. She really likes proportioned food, things that are already packaged in small portions to prevent her from over-snacking. That's normal, but she gets these small applesauce pouches and these fruit puree pouches, small low-calorie snacks that are literally made by Gerber, and they're intended for literal babies. She likes them because to her, they taste good while they're low-calorie. And again, they're already portioned into small servings. But it's literally childish. It's for babies. There's plenty of adult foods that are small portioned and low calorie. Every time we have family or friends over, they always comment on that food being in the fridge, and some even question if we have a kid or not. It's just annoying and unnecessary. So I asked her to stop buying these snacks and get something more grown up, and she simply said no. She even tried to show me on her phone that what she was doing is common and that so many other adults eat these as snacks. But I wasn't buying it, so I broke into a whole fight, where I was calling her immature and saying that she had to grow up. I know, that was rude. And she was saying that I'm being a d-bag for getting mad at her for something that she says is harmless. Am I the a-hole for wanting her to grow up and eat food that's actually not intended for infants? Yes, and you're the biggest child for turning this into an argument over child's food. Like, it's not hurting anyone, it's literally just hurting your ego. You need to grow up, buddy. You're the a-hole. Stop trying to control what she eats. It's applesauce. You're the a-hole. If it was because the baby stuff is too expensive and you're on a tight budget, maybe. Personally, as a parent, I don't like the squeezy pouches because kids need to learn to eat from a spoon, drink from a cup, etc., rather than effectively using a straw all the time. You eat and drink too fast through a straw, and it impacts muscle development in the mouth and jaw, so learning speech can be impacted. But for appearance's sake? Who cares? Oh right, OP does. Or if it was because of the plastic waste? Surely adults can spoon themselves a small bowl of applesauce from a large container. That baby food is like 40% plastic packaging. That's a really interesting fact about muscle development in straws though. I didn't know that. You can buy refillable pouches. This is a total win-win. She can portion her food in convenient pouches that she could take with her. They won't be blatantly labeled as baby food, and buying either applesauce or baby food in large quantities is generally cheaper than the pre-portioned packages. Posted by user No Son at Wedding Throw, titled, "Am I the a-hole for refusing to go to my niece's wedding as my son's, and her cousins are not invited? My niece is getting married late next May, and my husband and myself recently received the save the date. On it was details of the couple's wedding's website, and upon checking it, the website mentions the wedding is child-free. I have 2 sons who are my niece's first cousins, and by the time the wedding comes around, the youngest will have just turned 12, and the oldest will be 13, nearly 14, with a birthday coming July. Now, at 12 and nearly 14, I believe that my niece possibly meant young children, say under 10, and double-checked with my husband's brother, the father of my niece, who agreed with me that yeah, niece probably meant young kids, but he would double-check, especially as my kids are her actual cousins, so it was probably fine. A couple days ago, he rang and confirmed my sons were not invited. My husband and I are quite upset about this. My sons were looking forward to being at their cousin's wedding. I called my niece yesterday to confirm what her dad had said, and she was apologetic, but yes, due to them already being over their intended head count, and the fact they had other similar-aged children and younger that were being also cut, she had to just be fair across the board and say no to everyone. I told her how upset her cousins were, how disappointed husband and I are at that decision, and we asked niece to please reconsider, as not only are my sons hardly kids, they are her cousins, and if she couldn't accommodate them, then husband and I couldn't come. The line went silent for a while, and my niece put on this very rude and sarcastic, simpering voice saying, "I'm so sorry, Auntie, to hear that you can't come. I do hope we can celebrate with you at a later date," and basically hung up at me. I was furious about how rude she was at me at what I thought was a reasonable request. Okay, if my sons were like 5 and 7, sure, that age can be unreasonable. But even then, they are still her cousins. My husband agrees that niece is being unreasonable, but disagrees with me calling her and asking her to change her mind, as it's her wedding in the end, and we can't change it. Edit. Thank you everyone for your comments, although I think many of you are missing the point. I want to address some things people have mentioned. My sons were indeed looking forward to going. They look up to my niece. My oldest was born when she was around 15, and youngest around when she was 17. She moved away for university to study zoology, has seen them on and off over the years, with the last time around 4 years ago. My niece now lives interstate, but we talk about her constantly. She is already very successful in her career and works as a zookeeper at a very renowned and famous zoo here. As her aunt and family member, I'm very proud of her achievements. We talk about her a lot, as she is a good role model in terms of success and working hard to achieve your dreams, and she is someone I want my sons to emulate as they begin their careers. My sons have also been invited to other of their cousins' weddings when they were younger than this. The first was when they were 5 and 7, and the second when they were roughly 9 and 11. They were both very well behaved at both and had an amazing time. They danced all night and were able to see all other family members as well. They had very fond memories of being at their other cousins' weddings and were upset at being excluded at this one. And as much as I am proud of my niece and is a fantastic hard worker who has earned every bit of her success, she does have her negative traits, and she is stubborn, sarcastic, and as a child, quite obnoxious at times. She absolutely did put on a sarcastic tone. Every word was heavily emphasized, and she even changed her voice somewhat to sound like a simpering suck-up. It was 100% intended to be rude. And finally, some of you are 100% missing the point. This wasn't so much about not having children there as it was about not having family there. I know many of you have said cousins are not immediate family, but my niece is someone my sons look up to. My kids are her family. They were the only kids that were family excluded. My niece told me on the phone. The other kids not invited were kids of their friends. Totally different to family. I hope that clears up some of the hastily made "you're the a-hole" comments that don't fully understand my position. Even with that edit, I'm going to go with OP is still the a-hole here. It's not your wedding. You can't just guilt someone into allowing you to have your kids there, even if they enjoyed the other weddings. Again, it's not your wedding. Either comply with the rules or don't go. It's that simple. Stop beating someone for having rules at their wedding that you don't agree with. You're the a-hole. You're the a-hole. No kids means no kids. There are just some situations that teens and children aren't appropriate at. I suspect there's going to be alcohol and a certain atmosphere they want to have. The other issue is that if they make an exception for your kids, everyone will want an exception made. So please don't take it personally and respect her wishes. It's not your wedding. You're the a-hole. It's not her wedding, and she is not even a wedding guest now. The niece was absolutely right in not negotiating with terrorists, which makes me think that it's not the first time that she had tried something like this. So you called your brother-in-law and got confirmation that your sons weren't invited, and then called your niece to confirm? Way to put her on the spot. You're quite an unreasonable person, OP. And asked her to reconsider. In other words, OP tried to guilt niece into including her kids. She knew the kids weren't invited from the minute they got to save the date, and their names weren't on it. You're the a-hole. You're the a-hole. Reeks of entitlement. I understand wanting to double check to be sure, but you double and triple checked just to try and guilt her into making an exception for you, then trying to strong harm her by threatening not going yourself. It's not your day, so no matter how you or your sons feel, no matter how close you are, you have zero say in her guest list. If it is not to your taste, you have every right not to attend, and an RSVP no will suffice. Alright guys, that's all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed this one today. Tell me what you thought of it down in the comments below. If you're not subscribed to the channel, I would love you to subscribe because I love your face and I love seeing you here every single day that you are here in this video. I don't know what else to say today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the content. I do have a second channel that's called Markee 2. Link should be up on the screen somewhere here if you don't have adblock installed. If you don't know where to find the channel, you can go to my main page. Just click on the Markee face and it should be on the right, somewhere there, or on channels if you're on phone. Hope you guys have a good one. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.